Just to introduce myself shortly, I'm working at Kirchhoff Automotive and I'm responsible for the procurement of the steel globally, and our company consumes around 550,000 tons of steel per year. Now I will start with the presentation. First, a short introduction of our group. Kirchhoff is a family-owned company. The control is in the hand of three brothers. It's one of, now where's the pointer? Wait a moment, here. So one of them is Johannes. He is responsible for the waste truck business. Then we see here Wolfgang. He is steering, no, it's not working. In the middle is Wolfgang. He is steering the automotive business, and on the right side is our, let's say, foreign minister who is representing Kirchhoff publicly, is also on talk shows. It's Arndt. And the company is almost 250 years old. It was founded 1785. Then we have 4 units. The biggest one is the Kirchhoff Automotive, where we have close to 2 billion turnover per year. The next one is the Kirchhoff Ecotech, which with close to 1 billion turnover. And we see here this waste trucks who are running in all the towns. And also one company in Turkey is part of our group, it's Hydromac. Then we have Witte Tools, this very small entity for handcrafts tools, and the Kirchhoff Mobility, who transfers normal cars for handicapped people. And we come to the next, and here a short overview what we are doing in the Kirchhoff Automotive. It's all the structural parts of the car. For the trucks, quite a lot in our plant in Germany, and the other cars, the other parts are biggest part is cold forming steel, but we have also a part of hot forming steel where we use aluminum silicium coated material. When I go further to the first, we have seen here already some charts regarding that new technologies. At the moment, we have from the screen steel in Europe only available the traditional EAF steel, where we can, there's a high scrap content, but we are limited there for sure in the grades. Several automotive grades, especially in the advanced high-strength steels, you cannot make in this form. Then from 2025, 2026, there are going lots of investments at the moment on, where we have been talking about also. I see in the first step, we will see the DRI reduced with natural gas. I don't see that we have so much H2 available, also because of the energy intensity and the high price of energy. I think it will be reduced by natural gas. And then we have 2 different routes, which are where the steel mills plan to invest. One is EAF, and they use DRI and scrap in the electric arc furnace. Or you have the submerged arc furnace where it's used 100% DRI. The submerged arc furnace has an advantage. You don't change anything in your steel manufacturing process, because you will only have then later the cooling scrap in the steel plant, and you get to the same qualities basically out. And with the EAF, the sensitivity is how to put the share between the DRI and the scrap, that you achieve still the qualities which are needed. No? It's very quality sensitive. We have seen also in our business in North America, there we had some EAF steel, and we had some problems because of the high scrap content. So then the next one. Here we see the recycled steel use in the crude steel production. We see here Turkey is far leading from all the countries globally, from the big steel manufacturing countries with 86%. That's also matching more or less with the slide of Alexander. He has 72%, I saw, but here is the scrap also for the integrated plants included. So that's why we have here a slight difference. So the recycling content used in Turkey is very, very high. We see in the US, they have also a very high EAF share. The recycling content is around 70%. Even in Europe, the recycling content is very high, but this is more linked to the long products because this is all EAF-based in Europe. All the flat products is BOF-based. So it seems quite high, but the qualities I buy, I can at the moment only buy from the BOF route. Then we see the other countries, I don't go in the details. Also we see China, which is highly dedicated to BOF at the moment, and we see the recycling rate is rather small in China. And I see here, because of that, that the starting point for Turkey is very good, because you have already that investments, what the others are going to do. So the start point to really go for decarbonization is looking very well. Then we have another issue what we have to look at. We have the trade flows of the scrap. We see here the two biggest exporters of scrap is the US and the European Union. And Europe exports around 10 million tons to Turkey a year. I think that was 2022 figures. And the US has exported there 3.5 million tons of scrap. So the total imports of Turkey were 21 million tons, as biggest global importer of scrap. But I think due to all these investments in the electric arc furnace in North America, what we have seen also on other slides before, and in Europe, trade flows will slightly change in the future. I think it might be that these scrap, which is derouted, might be substituted then by DRI, because we see also not all the scrap will hold back, because also the US is investing in DRI, Europe is investing in DRI, but I see there in these regions also an additional need of scrap, which will reduce the exports to a certain point. But DRI is also a chance to, if this would increase, to come to other grades and qualities to produce. Then this is more or less the plan. I have the plan from every steel mill in Europe, how they want to start their investments when the investments are going online. And according to the investment plans of the European steel mills, we will see probably, most likely 2030, 50% of green steel in the European Union from the steel mills in Europe. That does not mean that, that we will see 50% CO2e reduction, because the green steels which will be introduced at the beginning, some have only 25% CO2e reduction, some have 30%. So in the average, it might be around 30% what we can reach there. Some will show also reductions of 60%, so it's every steel mill has an own green steel with a different carbon footprint than in 2025, 2030, and the transition phase for sure will last quite longer. It will end 2040, 2045 if all works well. And if the green hydrogen is available. If the green hydrogen is not available, there's still then another problem, another topic. Then we come shortly to the automotive market. We see here it's a chart of the global development, and we saw here the point. No? Here. No. Here. This point here where the COVID crisis came, and the upper line shows how it should have worked, the automotive market and the automotive sales, without the COVID case and without the war influence. So, but we came then through COVID, and we are at the much lower level at the moment in the global car production. And at the moment, if I look at Europe, the car production, is for the start, we made a budget for this year. So at the moment, we see that the petrol cars are more or less at budget level, what we are producing. So the business there is quite good, but the electrical cars are not selling. And this is because lots of subvention measures from the governments have been stopped. So the people lose interest to buy a high-priced electrical car and start more again buying the petrol cars. And this gives also problems to some of the OEMs which have a high focus on the electrical cars. The production numbers there are very bad, to 25–30% only of the normal plant levels. So I'll go once. Here, this is also a picture how the development of the battery electrical vehicles is planned. No? It's the total share of the battery electrical vehicles should be at around 30% in 2028. At the moment, we are, here, there's the pointer. 2023, 12%. It should grow to 15%. We see a good growth in China. Also, if you go to China, you see quite a lot of cars there. The second biggest group is the green curve, which is indicating Europe. It's also growing, but at a much slower level. And the growth rate will not be very good in 2024. So I think this is also quite optimistic scenario. We see also that North America is still much smaller, the content of the electrical cars in the which they sell in the market compared to Europe, and for sure far below that of China. So, and here that is for me very important, and that is also where I see a chance for Turkey. We are faced at the moment with the CO2e reduction targets of the OEMs. Every OEM has put CO2e reduction targets. I will not go to the single OEMs, but they want to reduce up to between 30 and 50%, and this by 2030, 2035. So I'm responsible for the biggest CO2e emissions through my purchases in my company. So I have to focus how to reduce these emissions and fulfill the OEM targets in the end, because we have to bring also these emission reductions in our products to the OEMs. And this is the main discussion at the moment. And here I see a chance also because you have at the moment in Turkey a better footprint. If there would be a good cooperation, I think the whole industry could benefit to really look at these environmental targets. And here is for me, like I told before, for Turkey a good starting point in this regards. So then a short summary that the green steel availability that I see is around 50% by 2030, and the CO2e reduction around 30% probably out of the European steel production. The DRI will take an important part in the future because it has also to play a big role besides of the scrap for the future steel production. And a high percentage of green steel is a must already in 2030 to achieve OEM targets. And most of our companies have also registered in the Science-Based Targets Initiative, where we have also everyone has submitted scope 3 reduction targets between 25–30%, which are followed up by this international organization. So there's a lot of pressure really to go down with the emissions. And I think what I told before already 2 times, that Turkey here is in a good point because of the better setup and where the others start their investments at the moment. So that was basically what I wanted to tell today.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions from the floor? So many questions. Let's have the microphone. Let's start with Mr. Julius. Microphone is on this side.
Uwe, thank you very much. You had actually one slide showing the development of electric cars. Is there also a similar development for hydrogen-based cars or hydrogen-based vehicles?
Not so much. I think also the hybrid engine cars will not last too long because to set up cars with 2 different technologies, drive technologies, is very expensive. And at a certain point, I think they will vanish. I think they have still their validity, but production costs are quite high, and you achieve a better environmental footprint for sure. But you have if you take into account the footprint for the production of the car with the battery, you have to run several kilometers to really reach then the break-even for the CO2 emissions by the reduced gasoline consumption of these hybrid cars. But I think we will see them still in the next 10–15 years, but probably then somehow we will not see them anymore.
Thank you. Mr. Dalbert.
It was very informative. I agree with what you're saying about the position of Turkey for future, at least for the near future. But your comment about up until 2030, there will be 50% of green steel in Europe with 30% of reduction on the CO2 emission. To achieve this, of course, that requires huge resources. Because, if you look at the total the steel consumption, which is about 1.9 billion tons, the availability of scrap where Europe now sees as a solution in the short run is only 700 million in total. So no matter what, that's not going to be the answer. The answer, as you have just mentioned in your presentation, will be DRI reduction by hydrogen. That requires a lot of energy, especially renewable, and water as well, which also a difficult resource to. But my question is a bit different. Now Europe is holding everybody fully or equally responsible for this reduction on the CO2, although especially developing countries don't have the same contribution as Europe or US did for the total accumulated carbon dioxide that's generated so far. 50% generated by EU and US. Although China is emitting much more than anybody else, but they also do a lot of renewable investments over the last years. On the other hand, developing countries like Turkey do not have the resources or the funding possibilities to contribute to the, this transition as in Europe. Now only steel industry, as I just mentioned, will receive so far $9 billion to get this transition, but we don't have the same possibility. So what I'm trying to say, this will have a huge cost, especially for Europe, who is fully committed. So how do you think this will impact the automobile industry in Europe, because also that depends heavily on the export. So the European cars seems going to be much more expensive compared to its competition like Chinese.
Yeah, that's,
Do you think this is going to be sustainable?
I'm not so sure. I think it's also a threat for sure, no? Because I see the prices in Europe that they will develop away from the other markets with all this transformation, especially if they want to go to hydrogen, because the hydrogen production will be very, very expensive. And if they really want to use it and bring the emissions to zero, they have to use the hydrogen, and then the coasts in Europe will be at totally another level, because we have also not so much climate-friendly energies, and you know, also the discussions on the atomic energy. In Germany, it's it's not allowed, more or less. In France, they invest in it. In Sweden, they invest in it. So it's it will be a very difficult topic, and it might be also what Professor Dörn told, that we are on this downside cycle, and because exports, for exports, we might go. Might be more expensive, and also in Europe they sell them. No? They get more and more. You find some on the streets. So, and I think this will also continue. And if you see also the prices at the moment, BYD, which is quite good compared to a similar car from a European manufacturer, you have 10 to 20,000 euros difference. And the private customer is thinking 2 or 3 times whether he invests in the cheaper car, because also at the moment the economical situation for several private people is not the best, with all the inflation and the rise, the price rise, especially in the food area.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the fact that green transition is not actually everywhere is going to be a huge problem. Any other questions from the floor? Mr. Vidal, yeah. Ja.
From him. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Again, thank you for your nice presentation. I wonder, I see that many steel companies are trying to reduce their emission, but as a automotive industry player, what's your companies doing for this issue?
Yeah, we are also working to put our targets into the Science-Based Targets Initiative. So we will there set our targets to come to the 1.5 degrees goal, to 2 degrees goal. And but we are still in establishment of our targets. I think it will be around for 2030, 20 to 30% CO2 reduction, which we want to achieve, which is more or less all in line with the OEM targets. And here is we have to work this way, because also you have to disclose from. It's obligatory for us from 2026, I think, to establish a corporate sustainability report, which the stock-listed companies have to do it 1 year earlier. So where you have to disclose all your emissions of the company, and we have to prepare for this, and this will be tracked by the European authorities, how we then reduce our emissions, and that we are in line with the European targets.
Thank you very much. So I believe this concludes the second session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.